Before the interview, I mentioned that I used to work at Wilson Library at T Chapel Hill, and we had the Southern Historical Collection, Southern Folk Life Collection,
Mm.
and a lot of the work was tied to oral history, which is something that you're heavily involved in. Um, to follow up on what you were just saying about colonialism and slavery, obviously being in some cases overly documented and not
Yes.
having enough documentation, say like within the last century.
Yeah.
Oral history projects are vital to that. How difficult is it to get someone to understand that their story is important?
I think it's recognizing the value in self-existence. I think is helping people recognize that their story is important. It's an accumulation, right? For
Hmm.
example, I get very everyone knows the emphasis of the history and the details of the JFK assassination, right? They
Hmm.
understand from beginning to end what happened. What I'm interested in is the point of views of that moment. The person who opened the door for the stretcher to come in, the person who was in traffic during that time, the person who heard it on the radio for the first time. So when you add those perspectives together, you get a more detailed and clearer idea of that main event, right? So
Hmm.
when I'm thinking about oral history and specifically for the African diaspora in whatever capacity, what I'm thinking about is not just, oh, well, there's this main event that occurred in history that we document. I want to know, what were you feeling? What were you doing? Were you holding on to something specifically? When you hold on to that item today, does that still give you a more clearer memory of that moment? Understanding that something as simple as, I don't know, the way you comb hair. Someone could do an oral history of just combing hair and saying like how, and then looking at each person expressing something they may think is mundane, like, oh, I'll comb my child's hair, and thinking, well, if we accumulate all those interviews, what are their common threads? How is those common threads connected back to traditions in Africa? Can we actually see the trace of the habits of our ancestral practice within something that seemed mundane, like combing hair? Through these interviews, people thinking like, oh, like I just something that I just do. Yeah, but can you, if you connect the dots and you scale it back and you look at the bigger picture, it is something more significant. It's the human experience overall. So we're all individuals that's connected. So I think once you explain it that way, then people are more open to say, okay, I guess my story is important. I guess push